call this meeting of the Teaching and Learning Committee of the Waukesha Board of Education to order. Stacy, verification that the meeting was properly posted.
Yes, it has been.
Thank you very much. The next order of business is opportunity for citizens to speak. Do we have any citizens that would like to address the committee at this time? Anybody? None. Seeing none, we will move on to minute approval for January 3rd, 2017 meeting. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval of the minutes.
Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? 4-0. Just one point of business. Mrs. Brezink is excused tonight, and I will be chairing the meeting in her absence. Our next order of business is our bright lights for this evening. We always look forward to our bright lights at this meeting because they are very interesting and informative. Tonight, we have Horning Middle School. Please come on up. Welcome. Hi.
Hello, welcome.
Yeah, we did some seating adjustments, hopefully that was okay.
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
I think I know most of the board members, but my name is Bob Wilson, the principal at Horning. We have 4 students right now. I know we're still waiting on a couple. We have Henrietta, hopefully, and Sam and Gavin. Did I miss anyone? Nancy Ronke to my left, and Crowder, one of our teachers at Horning, and Sharon Tebow. The student that was going to do our first slide is not quite here yet, but I wanted to point out one of the bright lights that's happening at Horning this month is Black History Month. So we've really, under the leadership of our new dean of students, Mrs. Floyd Hutchins, she's really helped spearhead just some activities that you see up on the screen. We're going to pass around just a flyer of some of the activities that so excited about that. So you see some of the events on there. Our day starts off with a student sharing a daily historical event regarding a figure in Black. That's been really exciting just to kind of drip that into the month, and you can see some of the other activities we have there. But we won't go too far into detail because I have some students that are really
Has been shared with you too, so at the very end I'll go back to that first slide because there's videos embedded in here that would be really worthwhile to see. We're going to be doing Socratic seminars today for you, and that's why they're sitting in the middle. One of the reasons we really enjoy Socratic seminars in all content areas, or we try to in almost all content areas at Horning, is because you get to the higher academic discourse that happens in the higher academic vocabulary in all the disciplines. Okay, Sam.
So one of the big things that Socratic Seminars focuses on is the importance of students owning the discussion. Instead of teachers calling on them to talk, the students just kind of continue on with the conversation without having to be picked on, and using positive attitude to continue the conversation fluently.
Okay, so there's a specific setup that most Socratic seminars have. As you can see in the picture in the top right, there's an inside circle, which is the ones actually partaking and talking in the Socratic seminar. And then the rows behind them are the ones who are giving them feedback on how well they did in the Socratic seminar, like if they talked enough, if they gave enough resources, and if they participated enough. And there's also a back channel. The people who aren't directly in the Socratic seminar, they're called the back channel, and they give feedback and ask questions up on the screen, so that if the Socratic seminar gets stopped or no one's talking, the students can just look up there and see some questions that they could answer to get the Socratic seminar going again.
And then for a back channel, we use Poll Everywhere, which is a website that you can use as you log on, and then it is displayed on a screen. And then it's kind of helps to guide the conversation because the back channel usually doesn't talk during the presentation. This gives them a voice and a way to talk during it without actually having to speak.
One other thing about the back channel is that they also give feedback to the people who are speaking in front. We were each assigned a partner, and we don't have this today, and it's up there currently. And we use a check mark system sometimes, or we just feedback it by the quality of the way that they're doing by the standards that are set.
Okay, so they're sitting in the middle because they're actually going to do about a 3 or 4 minute Socratic seminar. Usually it's a lot longer than that. The inner circle would speak for maybe 20, 25 minutes and then they'd switch, but we wanted to give you a flavor for it. So this is going to be from the biology class on genetically modified organisms. Go ahead.
One thing that I'd like to say about genetically modified organisms is that they're not completely very good for the environment because they cause environmental issues, such as the spread of chemicals through the plants, and the Roundup is being increasingly used again.
Actually, I disagree because a German meta-study told us that actually it has reduced chemical pesticides by 37%, and it's increased crop yields by 22%.
Going off what Jordan said, another good thing that they have done is they've given a lot more nutrients and a lot of things to protect crops from a lot of infectious diseases, and so they're tolerant to heat, cold, and other drought weather environments.
I disagree with Sam because it says that having antibiotic properties in GMOs could go into your system, which makes antibiotics less effective. So I don't think that this is a technology that we should be using, but it could be something that we could be using in the future.
I'd kind of like to add on to what Isaiah was talking about. I think that it can be very well used in developing countries, but to agree with Isaiah, I don't really think that we need it in like further developed countries like the U.S. and some European countries and states.
Just commenting on Gavin's, I do agree because in a lot of other countries they don't have some of the opportunities that we do, and their health problems are a little more severe than ours. And I think that giving GMOs to other countries could help, but I am also siding with Isaiah because I think we need to be careful on what we do put into our bodies because it could affect us in the long run.
I understand what you're saying with that, but in almost the 20 years that we've been using GMOs, there hasn't been like a clear sign that they have impacted humankind in a negative way. So it doesn't really make sense to say that it could be bad in the future because this is the future and we've already seen that it can't.
Thank you so much, everybody. This could go on for like an hour. And I just wanted to stress, too, that we didn't force that conversation. That's how it happened during the biology class. And Mr. Blessington's going to talk about how it's tied to the honeycomb.
Yeah, I want to mention, this was definitely not I know we try to give you an example today. I actually had the opportunity to sit on the full class observation for the teacher that did this, and these four did a great job today, but actually the discussion in class was amazing to see just the amount of rigor and conversation and that was taking place and the amount of discourse that we want to see. So they did a great job. As it relates to, as we look at like the honeycomb at Horning, you can see where we look at all the aligned arrows and where this fits in different pieces, as it relates to the personalized learning element. So, as we continue with instructional practice at Horning, I mean, we really look to the honeycomb to help support the work. And I just want to thank again these four students for doing just a wonderful job. So, thanks.
That was fantastic. Are there any comments or, yes, Mr.
Sure.
Baumgart?
For the students. I get enough of you. This is very interesting, but you have to deal with sometimes being people disagreeing with you, right? Do you find that uncomfortable?
No, in fact, and a lot of times we have to make up arguments preemptively to restate our claim and back up, or I forget what it's called. I think Sam knows.
We prepare so much for this, and we don't usually say all of the notes that we take. So we just have to prepare and keep preparing a lot. And
So before you actually get into the agree, disagree situation, you've all done research?
yes, that's what we've been going
Individually,
off
I
of.
mean,
Yes.
alone? Oh, very interesting. But you feel okay in defending it?
Yes.
And you don't feel put down when somebody says
No,
you're wrong?
we understand that it's like.
You understand that?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that. A big learning piece taken on there.
Any other questions? Mr. Dietz?
How did you get to this point of being able to discuss like this? Was there some training that your teachers gave you prior to, or was it just natural for you?
This kind of has normally the Socratic seminars have to do what we're doing in class. At the time we were doing our genetics unit in biology, and we decided to do it on genetically modified organisms, and we had watched a couple of videos and slight parts of movies, and then we also had about a week or two, right, of research that we had to do, and we also wrote essays in that time too, and we could use information from our essays, quotes from the movies, and the information sites. Isaiah, would you like to add on?
And it appears that it really gets you engaged into the topic, and it also puts you on the spot, so I would think that you need to come to the table with information, or you might not look so good. So, I mean, I think probably the pressure's on when you get there to do your work and to be able to discuss it and defend yourself. You guys did a great job tonight. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Anything else? Well, that was fantastic, but my question is the discourse always that cordial? Huh?
Usually it is. I mean, we only done this one time before, so yes, that one time, and now it was. And that's what's so good about it, is because when you researched it over and over and over, you really learn the facts. So you're not really arguing over one another, and you're not giving false information.
And I think that I also appreciate that you said that no one said anybody was wrong. You just said you disagreed. I think that's key in the whole point that Mr. Baumgart was making. But it's fantastic. I love it.
Awesome.
Ryanchek.
Thank you. I just thought of something. You all will be great debaters if you go on to a debate team in high school, because you need to keep your composure instead of getting irate at the other person, and especially when you feel passionately about your side. You've learned all of those. I don't know, the connectors to say, thank you for your opinion, Sam, but I feel this way, or however you've learned to say those gracefully and humbly and nicely as you can, instead of saying, what? Why are you saying that? It says right here, and whatever. You know, you're learning all those skills, and so I bet you'll be here someday reporting on how great you're doing on the debate team. So keep up the great work.
Good job.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
For sharing that.
Yes. Great. Alrighty, that was a fantastic bright lights. Next order of business is our presentation item. We have one this evening from the Montessori grades 5K through first and second grade.
It's clicking. Oh, no, you don't know. You don't get any time off for this. That's what she's gonna pay me when she's done with this.
Maybe doing this side saddle.
Okay.
For the chair. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm in the right room for people who know about accommodations.
Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you to Jody for inviting me to present tonight. So we have a bit of an identity crisis, the district and us. In fact, when Todd was interviewed a couple of years ago about the expansion of this contract, I think he used the term local educational option. I think we need a better name. So basically what I wanted to talk about a little bit is for some of you who already know because you were part of the process for approving this, but for some of you who are new to the party, wanted to introduce myself, Bill Walsh. I'm the Executive Director of the Montessori School of Waukesha. We are currently in our 8th year as a community partner with the district for 4K, and that was the springboard for what brought us to this contract. A lot of the underpinnings are precisely that of the 4K contract. And I also invited one of the other community partners, Tim Nolan, whom most of you have met, and he'll be helping me with a little bit of this. So, the contract that we have with the district, it is not a charter contract. It is not a voucher contract. Many times people will ask me that. It's like, well, how is it the same? How is it different? In my opinion, it's better than either. There's not as much red tape from that standpoint for either of us, the district or us. It allows us to meet standards set by the state, set by the district, but still to employ our faculty, our educational philosophy in our building, very much like 4K community partners. So that's kind of the beauty of it from the very beginning. I know that so it was 2009, if for some of you who may recall back at that time for 4K, and that particular spring, it was fast. It was very fast from the point where we had the first meeting with all the partners and to the point where you all approved it as a district. But one of the things I know, and I know Tim and I have talked about this, is we knew that if you dictated curriculum, it would be a bigger challenge for us to be able to sign on. The fact that you were willing to dictate standards made it much easier for us to be able to meet the objectives and partner with the district. So from that standpoint, as I said, it started back at the inception of 4K in 2009. Concepts are extremely similar. If you laid out the contracts side by side, they'd be substantially similar. In fact, that's what the district's law firm based it on. Again, standards versus the curriculum. We meet the requirement as far as having DPI licensed teachers in all of the classrooms, but for us, the other part of it is that we're particularly interested in making sure that there's Montessori certified teachers in every classroom. So sometimes they are one and the same person, sometimes they are not. But there's always going to be 2 full-time teachers in every classroom. To give you a little bit of the background on the partnership, I did exactly what you told me not to. We'll see if it works. Good. No, it's not playing.
In the future is what our 4K school is based on long-term partnerships, community involvement, and diverse groups united for a common cause. To Today, we celebrate years of success that have proven that school community partnerships provide for a range of services impossible from any one organization. The 4K community approach benefits the school districts and the general public. But the most important benefits are to the children, their families, and our community. Let's hear from those who know best.
She's had gone through daycare here for the last, like I said, 4.5 years. And when we were looking into 4K programs, we just decided, well, this is the best natural fit. She knows staff here. She knows some of the other children in her class, and we thought it would be a really good transition for her.
The wraparound care is really convenient for us because although she's only in the 4K program for a specific amount of hours and days, she can be in the same building, in the same place, in fact, right down the hallway, and have daycare services provided, where she also learns how to do stuff and also has that same structure, providing us the flexibility to be able to drop off the kids at one place and pick them up at another, at the same place without having to go and worry about who's going to bring who, where, and when. As a parent, that's great.
Working parents know firsthand the convenience and peace of mind the 4K school community partnerships provide. But there's so much more.
My daughter is 3 years old. She's currently in childcare. She does receive speech services through the school district, which happens right at our daycare center. They just pull her from the daycare classroom. She gets her speech services and she goes back. What I love about 4K next year is she'll be in the same exact building. I know that she'll have hopefully the same speech teacher from the school district, and it will be in the same place as it was this year. Talk about continuity of care. I think that will be huge for her in her special needs, and it will help her to thrive.
Contact with teachers has been great. We, every day, I talk to the teacher and the assistant teacher in the classroom at drop-off and pick-up. We've been able to share little tidbits of information.
Special programs, family events, care before and after 4K sessions, outstanding educators. The 4K School Community Partnerships serve everyone in our wonderfully diverse community.
The 4K approach is something that I would recommend to anyone, especially with multiple young children. It's great to have the structure base, to build their foundation on the structure. You only get it offered in the 4K system, so it's definitely something I would recommend.
If your child is eligible for the 4K program, I wholeheartedly believe that you should do it. If you don't do it, I think that's a huge detriment for your child. You're not giving them the tools that they need to succeed in kindergarten and years forward. This is an age where they are learning everything. Every day is a huge academic gain for them. And if you're not putting them in the proper classes, then I don't think you're doing your job as a parent.
Just overall, we have been really happy with our experience here and for making it a very family-centered and happy place to be.
There you have it. Praise for the 4K School Community Partnerships from parents who see the benefits daily. As partners, we're proudly creating the future, one child and one family at a time.
Let Tim help me with the next part. I mean, one of the things, this is an evening of celebration for you when you look at the bright lights and this thing that just occurred. And when we were first approached by the district to partner around 4K, we traveled the state, went off to Eau Claire and La Crosse and others to look at programs. Our vision was always to have the program here in the school district of Waukesha be a showcase program, and I think it is. I think there's lots to be proud of in terms of how well it works, how well the partners, if you think about it, the community partners essentially are competitors. other than in 4K. And we have learned, well, we've learned to work together really well on behalf of the kids and the families. And, you know, I think one of the big pluses is each of the community partners brings different things to the table in terms of who we serve primarily. I mean, obviously, I'm Tim Nellen, and I'm director of the Head Start programs here. Into my 49th year of doing that, so I'm starting to get the rhythm of it. And you know, we believe that as we target the most needy kids in the community, we bring services that then spill over into both the partners and the district. So I think, you know, I was saying to Mr. Baumgart, who was there at the beginning and took the risk and leaped into the Colorado River with us. But I think at this point, we have lots to be proud of in terms of how well it's working. So, and obviously it's the basis of a broader relationship with Montessori. So.
Indeed, that was the springboard, you know, that brought us to this point in time. So again, based on the success of the 4K partnership, that's what allowed Todd Gray and I to continue those conversations. I think it was probably maybe 2.5, maybe 2 years ago that there was a board work group session where we had some discussion, which was really nice to be able to have that kind of a roll up your sleeves kind of discussion with board members at that time, talk a little bit about expectations, for us to be able to provide a little more information about for example, there was one thing that I recall that evening that was a surprise, and that was that we serve special education students at our school. 4K, obviously, as it was described in the video, allowed for that to continue, or allowed for that to proliferate. It's wonderful that in our building we have one of the district speech pathologists at least 4 out of 5 days a week. And then there's been some years when it's been 5 out of 5, and sometimes morning and afternoon. Again, that continuity of care that was mentioned in the video was really critical, and now, at least for us, you know, going into kindergarten and first grade, if that child happens to need those services to continue, they'll have the same specialists who are delivering those services. So that's really vital to the success of those students, and you know, certainly looking for that to continue.
Just one quick unique comment is we have a full-time speech pathologist on staff who actually is working with district kids during district time. So we're actually contributing that. But, you know, part of it for us is we've had a speech pathologist on staff for probably 35 years because speech is a big issue for young kids, and it can be a big blockage to communicating and learning. So we're working in partnership with, and very pleased to have all of the district specialists there when they're needed to work with the kids.
So for us at Montessori School of Waukesha, 2015-16 school year was the first year with kindergartners, and that was considered a pilot year. And then that cohort of students was allowed to continue on into this year as first graders. Long-term goal is to continue through 8th grade in terms of the conversations that Todd and I have had. The current contract takes us through 3rd grade at this point in time. As far as the benefits of the contract, in the simplest terms, more local options for families, certainly. Access to special education services, as I mentioned before. So it also allows us to talk a little bit more about students at a younger age than we might have otherwise, for screening purposes, because now we're able to bother people like Patty, you know, for advice on how to proceed with different things and how to provide the best support possible for the students. Also highlights, in my opinion, School District of Waukesha as a destination district. I'm a Waukesha resident, and my children were a product of South High School, so we're in this together. Want to make sure that we provide options for families. And certainly the benefit is that the students covered by the agreement are part of the head count for the School District of Waukesha as well, which is just another way. I think it's an excellent example of a public-private partnership where there's the advantages to everybody involved. I really believe that. Hope you do too. So, questions, thoughts? Yes.
Thank you, Bill. I think it was 1 or 2 slides back. What is the long-term goal? Right now they go to 3rd grade, but what is the long-term goal?
8th grade.
Okay, thank you.
At the time that the contract was being approved beyond its pilot year, at the time, I think it was actually Kurt, had mentioned a little bit of discomfort at not knowing exactly what the state was going to do with funding. I'm sure that that's still true. I think tomorrow is when he unveils his biennial budget, so we'll see. But, so I know there's a lot of unknowns. I know that in my initial conversations with Todd, we had talked about modeling it at some point after typical charter contracts, which can be up to 5 years. So it was just at this point. And it fits neatly in terms of one of the things for us in Montessori, it's always mixed age groups. So ideally you have 3 years in any one classroom. So for us, third grade is, first, second, and third grade is considered lower elementary. So it worked out nicely. And then the next stage would be upper elementary, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Any other questions? Bill?
Not a question, just a comment, and I have to support you when you say this is a good community partnership, and it's really showing that it works to be in partnership as opposed to be in competition. So, in both cases, that's been true. This program did get off the ground with some questions. I mean, I don't mean specifically the most current program, but all the way back to 4K. There was a lot of questions before we jumped into it, as you said, down the river. But near as I can tell, it's been a positive all the way around. So I want to just agree with you on that.
I remember back to those days, I think it was Frank Finman, who was somewhat rhetorically, somewhat not. How do we know they'll read? They'll be better readers in third grade if we do this. I mean, there was a lot of discussion, which is great, to have that at the board level and certainly with members of the community. And I don't have those statistics to tell you what it looks like now versus what it was then, but there's a lot of data, certainly in the now 8th year that we've been doing this together.
Anything else? Good. One question, Bill. How many children do we have there under this agreement?
Currently in, without 4K, it's currently 60 students because it's just kindergarten and first grade, and the contract calls for 30 students per grade level.
30 students per grade level up to 8th, or?
Well, currently just through third grade in the current iteration, with eventually the goal of going through 8th grade.
With 30 kids?
30 at each grade level, yes. Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
The enrollment criteria is a little bit different for 4K in that, at least currently, there isn't a specific limit on it because of the structure. For us, we have to kind of adjust the size of the funnel.
Right.
Because while we do have a lottery after 4K for any students who want to continue on kindergarten, and then of course once they're in at kindergarten, they're in unless there's any kind of attrition or vacancies created. It's just, that's kind of the stepping off point.
Okay. Do you have more children apply from the district under this program than seats available?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
How many more would you say?
Right now it's only about 11. At this point, and it's kind of an interesting situation. It's like we don't want to, create false hope,
right?
So it's not like it's a well publicized, event. And I think that we just had. I have to confuse the two. We had Stephanie in the building last week for one lottery, and there's another one coming up.
Thank you. Any other questions? Excellent presentation.
No, again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Alrighty. Next up, our lone action item of the evening. Approval of overnight trips, or just one trip, right?
Right, so just asking for the board's consideration for the traditional 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. So asking for your approval this evening on that trip.
Are there any questions? Let's maybe go with a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval.
In a second?
Second.
Excellent. Now that that's out of the way, any questions, comments, concerns?
It was very well filled out. We're getting
Thorough.
We're getting better at it, aren't we?
It's a lot easier.
Good comment.
I forgot. Do we have anything in here that covers the student in need? I'm sure we do, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
We always ask that question. I just want to make sure it's in here.
I don't see it right here, but I
No, it's on the
can,
bottom of the first page and it starts there.
right, I mean, this is an annual trip that we've been doing since 1973, I think.
Right, yeah, we're used to
So,
it.
Financial assistance, it says right here, they must complete the
Right.
the form.
Got
so.
it.
Any other questions, comments, anything? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0 in favor. All righty, moving on to our next agenda item, which would be our information items. We have one of those as well. Today's information is Sunday reading update. Welcome. Yeah, there you go, see? Yeah, hope we're all clear to lift that kind of weight.
Good evening, and thanks for having us tonight to report out to you on our exciting journey with the Sunday Reading Intervention Program. As you recall from previous updates, this is something that we embarked on as a special education staff in Waukesha going back into really last fall and winter, last fall, winter, and spring, and planning and then training over the course of the summer in August. When that training was finished, we didn't stop because one thing that was important to us was the fidelity of our implementation. So we wanted to make sure that once we left the table on that August day that things were set moving forward into the classroom and that we were providing our students with the fidelity that they deserved as we were implementing this important reading intervention for them. So actually next week we will have wrapped up our 7th day this school year of coaching where a outside coach was able to come in and spend 7 full days with us observing teachers directly teaching children, participating in large and small group Q&A sessions, and then a variation thereof. So while the time frame is still a little bit too short for us to report to you about the correlated outcomes as a result of what we have done so far, that time will hopefully be coming in the future. What we will do for you tonight is I'll introduce 3 teachers that we have right now that have been trained, have participated in coaching at various levels, and I've asked that they just report out on some of the evidence that they've seen, anecdotal or data-based, and then also their observations and information and observations and comments shared to us by parents thus far. So tonight we have Michelle Bentley from Waukesha South High School. We have Sue Little from Hillcrest Elementary School and Marianne Kirsch from Butler Middle School.
Sure, I'll start.
Great.
I have a speech here, but I don't feel like I want to read it, so I'll just kind of tell you how we do it at South and go with that. We have 13 kids in the program. There's 2 levels, Sunday 1 and Sunday 2. 1 would be for like a non-reader, and then 2 would be for a independent reader, but still really, really low. So we have 13 kids, 8 in the higher level, 5 in the lower level. We meet 4 different groups, 2 in the morning before school during that academic options time, and then 2 groups in the afternoon in like a resource study hall. We split the time. The lower group, we've seen a lot of improvements with decoding and fluency quickly. The higher group, we haven't seen as much improvement as quickly because they've already got the skills. We found that we had to go back and do a lot of reteaching as far as specific sounds that the letters make and that sort of thing. The kids took a while to buy into it because it is a little bit elementary, but we found that they really are getting into it. It's super fast-paced. There's not a lot of teacher talk, so they know what to expect. 1 minute here, 2 minutes here, maybe 5 or 6 minutes at another activity, and they're done, 35 minutes. We like it because it's all right there. There's books. We just take out the book. All the materials are there. We have videos that we can watch to make sure that we're teaching the lesson correctly. It's super scripted. If I have a student that I feel is needing the lower level, I can easily move that student. It's the exact same setup in both Sunday 1 and Sunday 2, so it's real easy to move kids back and forth. So real happy with it. The 4 of us that are trained at South feel like this is why we went into special education, for programs like this, so.
So one of the observations that they've made and that I've heard across other high schools as well is there is some reluctancy for high school aged young adults to buy into such an intervention, and inevitably, with very little exception, it has just simply taken time, and they have seen the benefits and are slowly advancing. So
We're using that at every high school, all 3?
we are using that across our entire district, elementary, middle school, and high school.
Fantastic.
Marianne Kirsch from Butler Middle School. I have been teaching for a while, and I have been always very leery of programs because they serve their purpose, and then it's kind of like, why are we doing this? Or we start them, but we don't really follow through. And this is different. I've really seen a lot of improvement with the students that I've worked with. There's so much enthusiasm with the 6th graders that I'm working with. They, and Ann Akery echoed this because I talked to the other middle schools. They beat me to the room and they set up all the materials. And I'm like, oh, you're late. We're 1 minute behind. I'm like, okay. They've set goals for themselves, and every student that I have has improved in reading in all the areas: vocabulary, comprehension, fluency, decoding. Just this week, I had a parent contact me from a different district. Her daughter is in my Sunday group, and she is asking if I would come and speak at their school about what we're seeing, because she is testifying that her daughter is reading independently now. She loves to read, and she didn't have that before. So that's been really positive. But just across the board, Central said, reported out they have 8 students in 2 different groups. They're seeing their students increase their confidence in their reading ability, and they're feeling more successful with reading. STEM has 7 students, and Ann Akery, similar to me, we're seeing kids race to the room, super enthusiastic, more independent in their other classes. Horning is doing this with 30 students, and they're seeing an improvement in fluency and their spelling. In our other grades, so total at Butler, we have 19 students, and without a doubt, every one of those students has improved in some area. So, and it is carrying over into the regular classes because we're infusing. It's a program that you need to follow, but you can infuse comprehension and vocabulary development as you go. So it's just been a really positive thing, and the support with having Carrie come and coach us has been phenomenal.
And I'm Sue Little. I'm from Hillcrest, so I'm the elementary group, and my kids love this. So not having the older kids, they buy into it. They really like the different modalities that they get to use, so especially with the touch spelling or tracing on the table. I have 3 different groups that I've been working with, and it's about 10 students. And all of them have been making consistent gains. So we just finished our winter map testing, and we're in the process of finishing our running records for February, and all of my kids have gone up, and I'm crediting part of it to this as well as them buying into it. I really like the fact that every 3 lessons there's a mastery check, so I'm really getting a good idea of what skills they're grasping and where there might be holes, and even though they might still be moving on, I can go back and target those areas where I'm still seeing those little holes that they need. I also appreciate the automaticity and vocabulary that I can build in during step 6 when we're doing the reading and tying all those skills in. So the parents, what I've tried to do is the kids, they each have individual books, so they take a snapshot of different pages that we do so they can go home and share with their parents parts of the lesson or that. So I haven't really gotten any direct feedback yet, so that's something that I'd like to continue into the rest of this year and next year, is just getting the parents to understand more about this program as we learn more about it ourselves.
So as you've heard, there's a little bit of an excitement going around the district when it comes to simply what they have at their fingertips at this point. And like I said, while we can't directly correlate the data yet, the anecdotal evidence and the energy and the confidence that we're seeing in the students as a result of that energy is evident.
Excellent. Any questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Baumgart.
Yeah, always.
Well, I know, it's a given, but.
Well, this was very interesting, and I'm sure glad you put your speech down and just talked to us, because it comes across as so convincing when you do that. But, as you talked about, particularly in the high school, the fact of, the resistance and the opposite at the Hillcrest level, that was very interesting. And for some reason, it created in my mind a question about retention. Now, this program this is the first year, right? And you've had, let's assume that there's been growth. Is there more risk of loss over the summer with a program like this? That's just something that I'm wondering about, because this is a population which maybe doesn't retain stuff as well as somebody else does. And I'm just wondering if we need to be making if we need to be making plans for something that they can do during the summer. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Question.
That's an interesting point. In fact, it's one that we've been kind of wrestling with recently, in that, what about the summer months? How do we keep the energy going? So we're going to continue to look into that. There's a little bit of a risk of the groups kind of march on together. They achieve mastery together, and then the teacher has the ability to drop back and kind of catch those up who aren't advancing at the same pace. So it presents a bit of a challenge for summer implementation, but certainly something that we're looking at. If not full implementation of the program in something like a summer school program, we'll certainly be looking at what resources and avenues that we can share with parents to continue that as well.
Thank you. Appreciate your answer.
Great. Anything else? Mr. Dietz?
I echo all those comments. Thanks to my connections to this district, I'm using the same program in my classroom every day, and I see those same results. I also want to thank Jason and the planning team for the implementation. The coaching has to be crucial to the success and the fidelity of the program. And not every district will go to that length to have that coaching. And I've been involved with programs that have had coaching and not, and phenomenal difference when you have the support and the follow-up from a professional that's consistently there for you and observing your lessons as well as you observing them. So just the whole implementation is very exciting, and you really have it all together. And I share those same successes and those comments every single day from the kids I work with. So you're onto something really good here, Jason, and doing a really good job, and the teachers, I'm sure, are too. So thank you very much for giving us an update, and we look forward to hearing more about the program.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
One comment.
Bumgart.
Is it Marcia? Marianne, I got.
That's okay.
It's all right, Marianne. I love it. You coming from a corporate world, I understand the program of the year. They come and they go every year, a new one that somebody sold you. First of all, seeing that we're beginning to have growth and feeling we're going to have growth should protect that. The other thing that will protect it is we'll probably ask you to come back again. But really, if it's working, that's what we want.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to see the enthusiasm, because it's important to have the children buy in, but it's just as important to have the teachers, the educators buy in as well. And it seems like we have a lot of buy-in at that level. So thank you very much for your dedication.
It's also a spelling program too. It's reading and spelling, so it's a combination of both, which sometimes the spelling portion of it kind of gets neglected a little bit, but it's a direct link to the reading program as well. So,
excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty. On to our discussion items. Tonight we have a student achievement update from Rose Glen Elementary. Welcome.
Yep, Melissa Nikolic, principal, is going to introduce her dynamic team from Rose Glen to give the closing standing ovation presentation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very proud to bring a couple of teachers in our EC with us today. My name is Melissa Nikolic, principal, and I will let our other representatives go ahead and share who they are.
I'm
Caitlin Mashevsky. I teach first grade.
Kelly Coffey, second grade. Grade.
So really the purpose of tonight is to share how Language Workshop and Inquiry are building global competency and action at Rose Glen, to share some great student growth results at the first and second grade level, and to also share our team teaching approach that we have embedded into our daily programming at Rose Glen, which I think really highlights our work this year in terms of small groups and PLCs. And I remember we came here last year and gave a little bit of our desire to look at global education and global competency at Rose Glen. And so we're just dipping our toe in the water this year and having a great time with that. And so each of our grade levels has picked a particular place in the world to focus on and have been really using Language Workshop as our vehicle to better understand people, places around the world. And so our professional development has focused on all of our teachers, either during the summer or during the fall, engaged in the Intro to Global Education class with Dee Garcia. And I think what that really did for us was realize just how deep we need to go to really have a good understanding of what that really is and what that really means, and extending beyond the flags and food and festivals and families. And so we've really taken some time to really think about that and what that could look like for Rose Glen. So again, looking at what is global competency and how does that also connect to cultural proficiency and understanding where we are with that and where we need to go. And then how can we integrate global competency into our classrooms? And so far, I think our main framework has been the Language Workshop framework that we already have right here in Waukesha. And so in our focus, we've looked at really investigating the world, multiple perspectives, taking action, and communicating ideas. And our teachers have, along the way, we've been having great collaborative conversations, discussions, thinking about ourselves in the world and what that looks like. And we've also used thoughtful logs as a way of us reflecting about our growth and what we know and what we want to know about global education and how that can look at Rose Glen.
We'd like to highlight some of the data results. Overall, our school has reached 54% in reading of students meeting the college and career readiness benchmark, and math 63%, meeting that CCR benchmark. Here highlights first grade, and you can see a steady increase and an improvement from 2012 when we first started measuring this with MAP from 54% up to 70% in 2016, students meeting that CCR. And then in reading, from 29% in 2012 all the way up to 63% in 2016. Besides measuring growth at the CCR benchmark level, we also want to be sure that all students are making growth in all of the different areas. And that's what this shows, highlighting first grade. In math, an increase from 57% in 2012 to 75% in 2016. And in reading, from 68% students meeting their growth targets to 75% in 2016, students meeting their growth targets. And then here's a highlight of second grade meeting their college and career readiness. From 48% in 2012 all the way up to 71% in 2016 for math. And then in reading, from 38% up to 71% in 2016. So we're really pleased with the growth overall for our school. We especially wanted to highlight these two grade levels tonight.
And even overall, our building, just across the whole grade levels, K through 5, we've seen an increase in the number of students meeting that college and career readiness benchmark by 15% in both math and reading since 2013. So now, knowing that, we've been able to really begin to think about how we can drill down and what are some next steps for our school in terms of stretching our kids even further.
Okay, my name is Caitlin Mashevsky, and I teach first grade. I have only been teaching this is my third year, and this is my third year in a team teaching situation, so this is all I've been accustomed to. And the reason I love the team teaching situation is because I don't get to know my learners as just what they can do in math. I know them as mathematicians and readers, so that is one of the benefits of team teaching. And just also the engagement piece has been huge. It's been really nice to be able to have 51 kids to work with to base our small groups up, and I think that is how our achievement scores have been able to improve, because we are able to pull so many more kids who are at a closer level to work with each other. And we have done that through our small groups and our technology. And another thing we have dug into this year is investigating the world. So we have taken our language workshop themes and really started to take action within our school and our community. Our first language workshop theme was what is the value in community? So we read the book C.D. Green, and we talked about how we could make a difference in our own community. So they decided that they wanted to pick trash around our community. And then we also took it to the global level, and they looked at how pollution has been impacting not only our specific area of Australia, but the rest of the world as well. And our next essential question for language workshop was, why is problem solving important? So we started with the book Oil Spill, and the kids kind of took this into their own hands. We didn't necessarily plan all of this. They wanted to see how they could make an impact, so they decided that they wanted to write to senators about why we need to start looking at oil spills, and they made posters to spread awareness around the school. And the way we brought inquiry into this is they researched an animal in the coral reef, and that's our lovely hallway there. So they each made their own animal, and they were able to use technology resources to research their animal, and then they researched what they could do to protect their animal and how they could make the world a better place.
So Kelly and I team teach in second grade, and I think we would reiterate pretty much everything Caitlin said about the benefits of team teaching. We really find it so beneficial for the kids. We do everything small group. We're able to differentiate and meet the needs of our 50 little learners. We operate as one team, meeting together, talking together all the time about literacy, about math, but we don't have any one kid that just stands out alone, all by themselves, not being able to have their needs met. We have a group of kids, and we can take that group of 50 and really just stretch them to where they're at. We teach second grade, but we have kids in second grade standards, third grade standards, and a few up in fourth grade. And I think because we're able to work together and just really own our kids together, we can meet those needs much better with this model.
Yeah, definitely being able to stretch them to, let's say, instead of 4 groups to 8 groups, to really meeting all their needs. And then even like in math workshop, not only just guided math is differentiated, but their independent work and everything, because you can really strategically plan for each half. But having us both teach it is really nice. We both see all groups and stuff, because sometimes there'll be a kiddo that maybe I miss something that she catches, or vice versa. And I love that part too, that we can really have those conversations and dig deeper into exactly maybe why a kid is struggling or whatever together. So that's been really nice. And just little things like having a substitute. There's always one of us there, and we seamlessly can just step into the other person's shoes, so we feel like they don't miss out on those days like that and stuff.
I think if you were to come into our room and just see the level of engagement from our kids, they live this way, they own this. This is, well, what group am I in this week, Mrs. Mayor, Mrs. Coffee? I forgot, where do I go first? Or, oh, let me look on the board, it's up here. They know this is how we operate, this is what they go, and it's just, they find a home and a comfort in it. So it's just really, exciting to see on a day-to-day basis. The enthusiasm is tangible. So one of our inquiry leading to action projects was reading a book called Mr. Peabody's Apples, with a main idea that our words are powerful. They mean something all the time. And we kind of brought it to the kids and said, okay, this little boy in the story spread a rumor about his coach, and his coach took him out onto the baseball field and had him spread a pillow full of feathers and said, every feather represents a person who has heard this rumor that you have spread. And it was a very windy day. And so he said, well, oh, what can I do about that? Well, you can collect all the feathers because that's equal to the amount of damage that your words have done. And, you know, this little boy looks and is just, can't even, it was just such a visual representation of being careful about our words. And at the end of the book, they never tell you, but you see a pillow and it's got some stitching on it, so you have an assumption that he worked hard, you know, to correct it. So we brought that to our kids and really thought about that idea of words. And words can be powerful in our schools, in our families, in our country, and in our global world. Our words have meaning and impact. And so what you see here is the kids, they worked together and they made posters about that, what they learned, and that words are powerful. We need to be kind with our words. And they were able to share and talk with each other and felt just a real connection to that.
Thanks. All right, in 5th grade, we took on this global awareness project, and we wanted to look at how do we impact our community, what can we do to have a collaborative effect with other community agencies around Waukesha area. So our kids decided to kind of research what are some issues in our community that we would like to address. And we looked at homelessness and the Children's Hospital, how to support them, the Women's Center, the Salvation Army, and the HAWS, the Humane Society. With that project, our kids were part of an inquiry project where they were able to pick what they wanted to research more about animals, or how do we impact animals, how do we help animals, how do we help homelessness in our community. So within those groups, the kids researched organizations within our community, and we branched out and communicated with those organizations. The students then communicated or actually made a script to call and talk to the agencies and ask, how can we support your agency? What can we do? And after doing that, the kids made a list of items that they could donate or collect, or items that they could help that agency. I'm sorry, I'm gonna. Through that inquiry project, they wrote announcements for the morning announcements to help get the school part in collaboration with that project. They also made presentations to share with other classrooms about that organization and how we can support that organization. They also collected and donated items and got their parents involved in those organizations, and then those items were organized and taken to those organizations, and building a collaborative relationship with those organizations. But more importantly, what I feel like our children have learned through this project is, I'd like to just share, they had to write a reflective piece after they've worked on this project and collaborated together. I'll read a little short snippet of one of the reflective pieces of my students, and it kind of summarizes what I really wanted our children to learn through this process. But the sum and substance of community service is to continually do it. Not just that, but the best thing to do is to keep the kindness flowing through those who want to make a change and unite those whom you've affected. Through unison, completion of the most insane things are possible, even those elusive, seemingly impossible to beat worldwide ones as well. So that's a 5th grader. I know, we talk about some of these 5th graders quite a bit, that some of the things that they say are pretty profound, and that through this project, that's what we really wanted our children to learn, is how do you impact the world? How can you make a difference? How do you, even though you're young, how do you change this world? Because you do have an impact, and through your actions, you make a difference. Currently, we just started a new project, and that's global conservation. And the kids are starting to look at what are some major issues in global areas: deforestation, water pollution, protection of animals and endangered species, and they've decided to get into certain groups based off of those global issues, and they're going to be researching issues and ways that they can impact those issues, and they're going to be writing public service announcements and making videos to help communicate those things with our community. So.
So that's just an overview of what we have going on here at Rose Glen this year and some celebrations.
Wow, Mr. Baumgart.
I'm going to start with an assumption. Am I right in assuming you guys like your work?
Oh, yeah.
Great, thank you. And I was very impressed with the charts too, showing the progress you've been making, but there's a couple other things that kind of caught my attention. Remember you had talked about the interglobal, or the global thing previously with us, and I appreciate that you coming back and sharing that. Now, when June comes around and they move up next year to the next grade, will they go to that next country then? Or,
yes, that's our plan.
They will be doing that.
Yep.
Great. And another question that came to my mind, I know we have some staff members in our district that have taught in countries around the world. Have you been able to incorporate any of their experiences and knowledge about teaching in another country?
That's where we're looking, this year we're really just trying to build that foundational understanding of what does it mean to be a global citizen, and then looking at to next year, how do we begin to make more connections, with all the technology we have, even besides just the people in our district, how can we begin to make more connections to people around the world and bring their stories to us?
Lisa, is it Alch at Flight Academy, has taught in a number of different countries, and she has done things online with teaching across the globe. You might want to connect with her. She's got some phenomenal.
Buddy, write that name down for us.
And I don't know that I can spell the last. I think you'll find it. She's one of the flight teachers, right? And Sharon Thibault as well has been around the world. So.
In second grade, we were actually able to connect. My cousin is a teacher in South Korea. So we've been sending some videos back and forth I had shared, and the kids are able to ask questions, and his students write back just some of the answers that they find. And so now we're doing a little sharing of here's some special places for us in Milwaukee and Waukesha. What are some special places in South Korea for you? So that's been pretty neat. And he's only there for 1 year, so we'll have to keep looking. But that was a really exciting. The kids just loved it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anything else? The only question I have is, where's the IB discussion? Because that's what you originally came.
That's what, that's kind of the long term looking forward. And, I think that's quite a process and quite a journey. And
Yes,
so
no,
I
definitely.
think as we've begun to think about, when we really started to dig in what global education and global citizenship and global competency was, we knew we need to just really begin to start at that level of building our basic understanding of what that is. I think we've also come to take a reflection and go, we need to think about who we are too, and what we value and what we think is important and where we come from. And so we know IB is certainly an option that can be looked at, but right now we're really just trying to focus on how can we use the frameworks we've got to guide us and implement global competency right into what we have.
Excellent, because as everybody knows, I have a soft spot for Carroll College. Yeah. I also have the same soft spot for IB, as I had a child that went through an IB program. Yeah. So anything that I can do to help, I will. Anything else?
I don't know if Karen's going to say anything.
She's there smiling. She's happy.
Patrick, I just had one thing.
Thanks so much, Bill. I almost got away.
Thanks, Bill, for putting me on the spot.
No, but we're talking about student achievement, and all of our schools are using the school improvement process, the SAIL process, to set goals and work very strategically and purposefully around school improvement and student achievement. And each of us as directors have a relationship with 3 schools, with 3 school principals. And so Rose Glen is one of the schools. I have a coaching relationship with Melissa. We meet once a month. and just really look at the data and even go deeper. You saw some of the data today, but we look at subgroups, we look at the improvement, not just of the whole, but how are students achieving in certain subgroups to make sure that we're really reaching the students who need it, need it across all areas, and all of our children. They identify through that process the high leverage practices that will make a difference for students, and they've identified their work in PLCs, they've identified small group work, and then they break that down. What kind of PD do the teachers, the professional development do the teachers need, and then how are they doing in that work, and how is that work connecting to student progress, and how are Melissa's leadership actions connecting to making a difference in that. And so that's just some of the behind-the-scenes work that goes on, but that's happening across the district in every school with all the directors.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad I asked.
There you have it.
Mr. Dietz.
Question for the teachers. Are all of you involved in team teaching situations? Okay. But the rest of you are? Yeah. And are you forming those on your own, or is that something that's coming, is that a building initiative, or how is that? Because it sounds like it has a lot to offer, and it looks like from your expression that it does. So.
Yeah, this is my 16th year at Rose Glen, but my first year team teaching, and it's been probably one of the best years I've ever had.
Awesome.
And it's just kind of funny because we didn't know each other very well, but I knew I really wanted to try team teaching. I could tell that there would be a lot of benefits, and it just has fallen really nicely into place that we tried together. And like, she's the organized one, I'm the flexible. Like, we really have learned how to form a really good partnership. So
awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. Anything else? Oh, fantastic presentation.
Very
Ladies,
nice.
thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Alrighty, that would be the end of our agenda for this evening. Our next Teaching and Learning Committee meeting will be Tuesday, March 7th, 2017 at 6 p.m. in this room. Meeting, unless there's anything else, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Very good.